You put observers in the best places for observing. That is, if you're going to do things intelligently, that's what you do. The nature of our planet, the nature of its atmosphere, the location in the solar system, the type of solar system it's in, even the type of star that we're around and the location within the galaxy are optimal for making a wide range of scientific discoveries. It turns out that those are also all the most important conditions for a habitable planet, that is, for a planet that's conducive to beings like us and without which we could not survive. I think that's just the sort of pattern that ought to suggest to people conspiracy rather than mere coincidence.
Just as I can't believe that there was a creator, I can't believe that this all happened by chance, which implies there was a creator. So you see, I'm in a completely hopeless bind, and I've stayed there. Again, I find it hard to believe that this is all a matter of atoms and molecules. And so I try to fit into my concept of the world the conclusion that there is a larger force of some kind, which we can call God, or you can call it whatever. But I can't accept that. I'm what's called a materialist in philosophy, but I find it unsatisfactory. In fact, it makes me uneasy. I feel I'm missing something.
The world view of the scientists, even the most atheistic scientists, is that essentially of monotheism. It is a belief which is accepted as an article of faith that the universe is ordered in an intelligible way. Now, you couldn't be a scientist if you didn't believe these two things. If you didn't think there was an underlying order in nature, you wouldn't bother to do it because there's nothing to be found. And if you didn't believe it was intelligible, you give up because there's no point if human beings can't come to understand it. But scientists do, as a matter of faith, accept that the universe is ordered and at least partially intelligible to human beings. And that's what underpins the entire scientific enterprise. And that is a theological position. It's absolutely clear when you look at history. It comes from that theological worldview.
Premise one is that whatever begins to exist has a cause. Something cannot come into being uncaused out of absolutely nothing. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. Premise two is that the universe began to exist. And from those two premises, it follows logically, therefore, the universe has a cause of its existence. Whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause of its existence. And the remarkable development that has occurred during the 20th century is that for the first time, we now have solid scientific evidence for the truth of that second premise, that the universe began to exist, so that this is no longer a matter of armchair cosmology pursued by philosophers. It's now a matter of simple scientific fact pursued by cosmologists.
Recent evidence may again point to an Earth far different from the contemporary image of a pale blue dot lost in a cosmic sea.
We've often been told, especially in the 20th century, that the universe does not have us in mind. That is, that we exist in a very large universe and that the universe was not designed for beings like us. We are simply life that happened to come about on a tiny little planet surrounding a tiny insignificant star in a run-of-the-mill galaxy within a very large universe that was not intended. Our argument suggests something completely different. It suggests that the universe was intended, that the universe exists for a purpose, and that purpose isn't simply for beings like ourselves to exist, but for us to extend ourselves beyond our small and parochial home, to view the universe at large, to discover the universe, and in fact, perhaps, to consider whether that universe points beyond itself.
There's something about the universe that can't be simply explained just by the impersonal forces of nature and atoms colliding with atoms. And so you have to reach for something beyond the universe to try to account for it.
Such an approach lies at the foundation of modern science. As we gaze ever deeper into the universe, we are inevitably drawn back to timeless questions. What is the source of the cosmos? And what is our purpose within it?
The founders of modern science, like Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo and Newton himself, believed that the universe was the product of a mind, that it was intelligible to beings like ourselves because the universe itself was the product of an intelligent being.
They were driven by this notion that this was essentially a theological quest. They were uncovering God's handiwork in the way the world worked. I mean, what a thought that we can glimpse the mind of God. We can actually figure out how God put the universe together. There's a hidden subtext in nature which can be exposed through this procedure we call science.
In his search for a more elegant description of the solar system, Nicholas Copernicus was motivated by his desire to comprehend what he called the mechanism of the universe, wrought for us by a supremely good and orderly creator. The system, the best and most orderly artist of all, framed for our sake.